question. I've just been asked by a coach who's got to do a talk about leading in crisis. And he asked me for some points. So I've literally been WhatsApping that 20 mints ago to him for his talk.
We've always
no, you know, it's
same wavelength, so it's good.
Yeah. No, I think yeah, she's in sports stuff. It goes away from plan all the time. I think you know, the easy excuse me. The easy answer would be to say, you know, do your scenario plans and be prepared, but you can't be prepared for everything. So I think what you need to have is what I call dominoes. So if you think about a line of dominoes and you push the first one and they all sort of roll over, you know, if you can understand as a team or even as a person, like, what are my first dominoes? What are the things that get me going, that give me momentum? So whatever crisis comes up, at least I know, okay, this is my go-to. This is an important thing. So did some work with some cricketers today and they're battling, you know, with fear of failure and what have you. I said, well, if you break down your technique as a batsman, what is the one fundamental thing you can control that gives you the best chance of success? So that one guy talked about his feet movement. So I said, cool. Then that's your first domino. So whatever happens and throws you off, if you've at least got an understanding of your anchors, your first dominoes, that at least allows you to get back into that space, you know?
Sure.
I know that's useful.
Yeah, no, interesting concept. I jumped the gun there, but I think if you can just talk us through sort of your background a little bit, where you started, where you are currently, and what you've done in between.
Yeah, cool. I'll try to give you a abridged version. I started I sort of fell into this arc. I was doing leadership work and goal setting and what have you with teams probably 12 years ago now. And then a bit of that, bit of this, did something else, and then decided I wanted to go do this full time in 2010. So now 10 years. And then I got a few breaks, you know. I worked with a semi-professional team, then with a professional team, and they did quite well. And then, you know how it is in sport, you sort of gather momentum. So I've been lucky, as you said, to work now in a number of different countries with different teams. So a lot in rugby, but a little bit in cricket. And then actually, I think it's 18 different sports in some shape or form that I've managed to work in. But it's now seemingly narrowing down into the team space and specifically cricket and rugby.
Sure. And do you think that sort of wide variety that you've had in terms of sports has helped you develop as a coach? Has that sort of given you different perspectives in terms of now being able to narrow it down?
Yes and no. So I think if I were only in one sport, you always run the risk of just becoming like a coach, you know, like a technical coach, and you only know that game. I also think if you're too floaty and you're not able to specialize enough in one sport, you always run the risk or you might run the risk of not being able to have sustainable value. So I might be able to come into a water polo team and do a little bit of work, but it's like the essence of the sport, it's hard to really deepen that value. So I think if I'm going to work in cricket, I'm not a cricket coach, but I understand the essence of the sport. And I think that can help you be a better practitioner in terms of the mental application of it, as well as the team. You know, you said I help bring people together. Thanks. But I think when you understand the essence of the sport, it makes it easier to do that role, if that makes sense.
Yeah, interesting. Tom, I think I was thinking about it. We first worked together in 2013, I think, with UCT Rugby. So it's been a number of years that we've known each other. But what sort of, 2013, 2014 and 15, when we worked together, obviously it was a semi-professional team, but you had a huge amount of success with the methods that you employed with the guys that we had. I just remember back to the 2014 campaign, we were ranked, or probably sort of tipped to be relegated that year, but we ended up winning the competition. And I distinctly remember a lot of the work that you did with the guys. And it just, for me, my feeling is that it made a huge impact on the whole campaign. Firstly, what is your philosophy as a high performance coach in terms of trying to create that environment for people to express themselves? And yeah, maybe you could just share a few experiences that you have used in a practical setting.
Yeah, thanks. That's interesting. Yeah, we did, I think you probably knew more of what you were doing at that stage than I did, if I'm honest. We grow up and we learn a lot more as we go along. I sometimes think back to those times and I'm like, geez, did I really know what I was doing? But you do the best with what you know. First of all, awareness. So it's a very simple and overused term, but do people actually know what is best for them? So intrapersonal and interpersonal. So do I know what happens to Tom Dawson-Squibb when he's under pressure? What happens to Tom Dawson-Squibb when he's angry or sad? What triggers him? So that intrapersonal awareness, massively important in how I'm able to manage and control my emotions to perform. One. Second, interpersonal awareness. Are we able to connect? Now, a lot of the stuff I've learned subsequently around teams is it's not so much around Archie or Tom, it's around the connection between us. So you focus on the dance and not the dancers, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So really just getting in those days, Archie, with those students, just getting them to connect to each other. Like, what do I need from you, Archie? What do you need from me? How do you respond here and how do you respond there? So I would say just self-awareness and then getting them to connect. And then I'd say third part is probably to connect to a greater cause. So it's one thing for you and I to connect as human beings and around the work we've got to create, but also everyone wants to feel like they belong to something meaningful. And if you can create, in every campaign, I always love themes, campaign themes, mini themes for the week. Hopefully that'll never die inside me, but I just think that brings more purpose, more meaning, which therefore will bring more discretionary effort and more belief in the high pressure moments.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it is something that I remember as well distinctly, that every week we'd come back on a Wednesday and we'd have a new theme for the week going forward. And it just always seemed like the players could identify with that theme quite strongly. And it really made an impact in terms of how they moved on and how they trained for that week as well. So, it always sort of struck me.
No, I was just going to say, like, if you think about a lot of the work you do, with respect to it, it's a lot of it's repetition and monotonous. Like the guys have got to run or the guys have got to push tin. Like they've got to, and I sometimes think if you can almost distract them from the laboriousness of it, if that makes sense, and get them excited around why am I doing this, and let them get energized by the purpose of what they're doing. Like I think that's where your and my profession can connect nicely,
Yeah, sure. The other thing that I've always found quite interesting is that a lot of teams have actually employed a high performance coach as more a part-time role instead of a full-time role. Have you ever sort of struggled with that? And how do you, if you are in that situation, how do you overcome it? How do